WinCam's production of Citizen of the Year is brought to you by Winchester Savings Bank, your hometown independent community bank. Call 781-729-2130.
And tonight, we're here to recognize the man of the hour, Alan Iden. And I'd like you to pause just for a minute while I introduce the Reverend Mary J. Harrington for the invocation.
I invite you to join me now in a moment of prayer. Beloved Spirit of life and love, we join together tonight from many faiths, but from one community, to honor and bless someone who has made a difference in the community we share. We are here to celebrate and express our gratitude to Alan for all of his quiet, modest, and steadfast efforts to make a better life for each of us here tonight, and for so many others, most of whom may never even know of his contributions. Source of life and love, you have created us in your image, reminding us that you are so vast, mysterious, and diverse that we might each be a spark of your one light, and yet also utterly unique. For it requires a wide array of human beings to care for the earth and to serve one another in love. We recognize in Alan your spirit of compassion and your vitality in his kindness, humor, and humility. We are thankful for his unending and unwavering willingness to pitch in and help others in so many wonderful ways. We feel lucky to be his colleagues, his friends, and his fellow citizens. We appreciate his generous spirit, his warmth, and all of his work to make our community such a friendly and beautiful place to live. God of many names, we ask that you continue to shine your many blessings on our town and on Alan, that he will know for certain the high esteem in which we hold him, and all of the gratitude in our hearts as we celebrate his dedication and his love for this, our common home. Blessed be, and amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend. I think that sums it up for everybody here. I heard somebody say coming in that it reminded them of the show that everyone loves Raymond, but here everyone loves Alan. And of special note, at the table to my right is the table that includes several relatives that I'd like to introduce. And first, the two most important people in the room, Bernie and Connie, the father and mother of Alan. And also at the table, Alan's sister, Janice. Stand up, Janice, so we see you. Thank you. And I'm just going to introduce one other person at that table, a friend of mine and a friend of many of you here, Rita McCabe. She'll never forgive me. It's my pleasure to introduce a man who has done a lot of good work for the town of Winchester and is a good friend of Alan's and is a cohort of his on TV, in the news, former selectman, a town meeting member, and the head of the Massachusetts Business Roundtable, Alan McDonald.
I can explain everything. My pin broke, Carl. This is a special wardrobe given to me by my pals Carl Borner and David Pywell and Bruce Brown, all former JCs a mere 30, 35 years ago when we were doing the haunted house. I'm supposed to be Dracula, but that was a nice pin job here, but it didn't quite work. I'm going to talk a little bit about our pal Alan Iden and the TV routine, but when I first met Alan back in those 1970s, it was through the haunted house and the JCs that we got involved. And I want to tell you a little bit about the off-camera Alan Iden, what he's really like. When I first met Alan Iden, he convinced Jane McDonald, nice, calm, children-loving Jane McDonald, to be a wicked witch in the haunted house. You did, yes. And so when I went home one night, I got to play the ghost every other night, and Jane would play the wicked witch, but at that point, our oldest child was 4. So don't tell him if you hear this story, don't tell my 36-year-old you heard this story about him, but he asked me one night, where's Mom? And I said, oh, she's up at the Girl Scout cabin. We'll go up and see her after dinner. Oh, he said, okay, fine. And we went up, of course, and we went in, we went by the rolling heads in the haunted house and the people jumping out of the cages and Dracula getting out of his coffin. And of course, he was scared right out of his wits and hugging and wanted to be carried through. When we got to the end of the haunted house, there were the wicked witches. And jumping out from behind the door is my little guy's mother with the teeth blackened, the witch hat, the witch cape, and cackling like the witch from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, calling her son by name. So he knew, he didn't think it was his mother, but then he caught on. And we went home, and for the next 3 days, he kept saying, why do people like to scare people? I said, well, that's just the way Mr. Iden is, son. You have to understand. He likes to scare kids. And he enjoys teaching adults how to scare kids. It's the kind of guy he is. So anyway, you just should know that. And we had a lot of fun, and you'll hear more about Town Day as we go, but Alan had, as much as he could dream up great things for Haunted House, he was even better at the Town Day stuff. But I'm gonna, for the sake of time, let others talk about Town Day and talk a little bit about how much I've enjoyed watching Alan come along in the world of local television. You'll remember back in March of 1980 when Continental Cable was granted a provisional license by the selectmen after review from the Cable TV Advisory Committee. And is Larry Worthen here? Or Bill McCarter and Larry Worthen was so instrumental in that, of course. But I took out some quotes from our town reports. This was something I learned from Mike Sirocco. Don't throw away your town reports, you know. And God bless Michael, we still think of him often. But I'm looking after we granted that license at the town report of 1981. And it says, television production classes have started for Winchester residents, and they will continue to be held as long as local interest holds up. Well, Alan Iden is still doing that. How many years? That's 81, so we're only 25 years later. In 1982, town report. The final phase of the construction project was completed. Local origination has started to produce programs in significant numbers. This programming includes high school sports events, cooking classes, cultural, religious, and more recently, a local News 19 program that will cover local news, sports, and editorial comments. Now, for those of you who were young enough then to remember, that was Mr. Iden's specialty. Did a beautiful job at that. And then Alan worked his way up after that 92 news programming and other related programs to actually join the Cable Advisory Committee in 1986. And when he got on the committee, he had new programming added to our cable TV package. It included C-SPAN 2, the Disney Channel, and the Home Supply Club. His affinity for news in C-SPAN 2 is trying to make up with the kids for Disney Channel, and the Home Supply Club for his nostalgia over the handyman JC work, and all those years he was Mr. Project Director, which he was. In 1987, Allen's business influence in the Cable Advisory Committee really came through. Our annual report for the town states, quote, "The expanded basic rates were increased from $11.95 to $12.95 at the first of the year." And can we go back to that? Is there any chance for $12.95 again? Oh no, that's too bad. And also that year, Allen began what is now an almost 20-year partnership with Don Cronin. And I know Don's here tonight, as Don was our man, and was our man in charge of WinCam Productions now, but as the 1987 annual report states, Don Cronin was appointed Continental's, that's Continental Cable, as the local origination director for the town, and his duties will be to supervise all local programming. Of course, Don could not have known possibly what he was getting into with Mr. Iden for 20 years. But of course, he has won a few national awards with Allen featuring the programs and done quite well. But it was during that period that Sandy Rogers, the very generous and talented Sandy Rogers, had been working with Allen on the news program and had done a few election night coverages, and decided to put Allen together, and gave me a chance, since I wasn't on the ballot any longer, to do the reporting. And we've had some fun nights doing that, as you know. And the difference is, when Sandy was involved, and we do miss Sandy quite a bit, she was mentioned tonight earlier for her award here, but Sandy would call Allen Iden and I together about 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the event, the election. And she would have all kinds of papers together in 3 and 4 minute blocks, super prepared. From 8:02 to 8:06, we're gonna talk about the ballot. From 8:06 to 8:09, we're gonna switch to town hall for, an interview and that sort of thing. Ever since we lost Sandy, Allen and I talk to each other on the phone and say, when do we want to do this? We get together at 10 minutes of 8 on election night. And we say, did you bring the ballot? No, I didn't. I thought you were going to bring it. Oh, no, we'll get a copy before we go on the air. But always, just 2 minutes before, they'll say 2 minutes, and Allen will every single year remind me. Now look, I've got an earpiece here attached to Don Cronin. I can't hear very well in this ear, so don't talk to me because I won't be able to understand you anyway. And for 20 years, we've started out our program that way. You'd never know that watching us, I hope, but I say, how are we going to communicate? But we do. But we've had some laughable moments. Some people would feel like most of our moments were laughable, I think, but you'll see in your program about the frack on the license plate, and some people have said it's the frickin' frack show, but I don't know if that's true. No, I don't think it's true at all. But we did have a couple of moments. One night we announced the town meeting results would be posted on the TV all night long, and it would roll through all night. And we posted them on the order that the people were on the ballot rather than how they won. But that was a small little mistake that we corrected the very next year. I mean, we corrected that. One night we were waiting for the results, and of course Mr. Sullivan has already reported this, but it's true. It's really not news because we are the last to know. But in any event, we were waiting for the results for the TV crew, putting them on the screen really nice before they gave them to us so we could read them off the screen. And we said, Allen Iden said, well, we'll switch over now to town hall and an interview with Sandy Rogers. We'll be right back with a few precincts. So we switch over to Sandy, and I think Peter Van Aken was with her at the time, and Sandy says, well, Allen, I'm here with Peter Van Aken and the winners of the school committee race. And of course, Mr. Iden looks at me, scooped again. And of course, we were, but that was all right. And of course, always when we go off camera, Allen and I will look at each other and say, what else will we talk about? It's like radio announcers at the TV game on rain delays, we say, what else will we talk about? The fortunate part is there are so many wonderful volunteers in this town, so many in this room, that there's always something to talk about, and we don't run out of that. In fact, we just run out of time. Many good stories from many good people. And you've honored one of the best here tonight. We'll have stories about him. We'll have things happening around him, and many more things to come, I can assure you, that we should never forget. The history of Winchester from the 1970s till today and on from here really have Allen Iden's stamp all over it. We wouldn't have Town Day the way it is now. We wouldn't have WinCam the way it is now we wouldn't have the business community as active as it is now, although I'm sure Kathy would make sure that we had some activity going on. But most of all, we wouldn't be as rich a community in terms of really tireless volunteering, in terms of having someone who runs things and puts others in the front line for the thanks and the praise. And in spite of the fact that we say nobody's irreplaceable, we would not have someone who we know is irreplaceable in the things he does for us in our community, such as our great pal, Alan Iden. And Alan, you really deserve this, and I'm just so glad I'm here to say so. Thank you.
WinCam's production of Citizen of the Year is brought to you by Winchester Savings Bank, your hometown independent community bank. Call 781-729-2130.
As chairman of the Board of Selectmen, I have the honor of presenting a official certificate of appreciation to Alan on behalf of the town. And as the certificate was being prepared, I realized that I actually didn't really know a lot about Alan, unlike many of you here. And there's actually a reason for this. One of the reasons is that whenever I run for office, I run for town meeting or the planning board or the selectmen, I always am very careful not to run against anybody. This is very important. It actually, unless I really mess up, it means I'm probably going to get elected. And but the downside is that I never really get a chance to talk to Alan. You know how they invite you down to the studio afterwards and you have this interview? I never get to do that. So I realized I really didn't know a lot about Alan, and I thought, before I do this, if I'm really going to be prepared, I need to find a few things out. So I asked Patty, I asked Mark, other people in the town manager staff if they could, kind of do some research for me, and it was absolutely incredible what I found out. And we saw some really nice pictures. I love the sort of archival footage from WinCam from the 80s, but they actually did not really show you everything. And I don't know, this movie is actually targeted to a slightly different audience, but I don't know if anybody has heard of the movie Anchorman. Oh, good. I thought I was really going to be in trouble. So Anchorman is really, it was a comedy, for those of you who don't know. It was done a couple years ago. Will Ferrell was in it. And it's about this guy who is, it's just sort of complete takeoff spoof on, he's Anchorman from the 1980s or so. And, he's kind of slightly vacuous, sort of puffed up sort of fellow. And what I was amazed to find out was that this character, Ron Burgundy is the character, actually based on Alan's work at WinCam, which was, I thought was remarkable. And the more we looked into it, I became astonished at just how much of this movie was lifted from early WinCam work that Alan had done. And I have, fortunately for all of us, the WinCam folks have an excellent archive of old material, as you saw from that film footage. What you did not see, however, was all of the work that was done during the 80s, and I actually have some of their promotional material with me, and I'd like to show that to you if I could. Now, this first piece is it's actually the main promotional thing that they did at WinCam to really kind of pump up the evening news show that they were doing. And you know how it is with WinCam. They have something, they show it to you like, 24 hours a day practically. This was on all the time, and it was remarkable. The ratings for the evening news went way, way up. And here, I'll show it to you. You have to work with me. I'm going to show it to the folks. I will show it to the folks at home first, and I'm going to try to move it around here. But as you can see, WinCam, there you go. They bring you the news so you don't have to get it yourself. That was their big slogan. Let me show it over here. And you can see Alan. That is really Alan there. And the suit is a little cheap, but that's what everybody was wearing back then. And also, you can see the crew that he had with him, which was really, I did recognize some of the people they had on here, but some of these others, they came in, they did a heck of a job. I mean, they were really pretty formidable. The sports guy was tremendous. He covered all the Winchester games. And the guy I think we really missed most of all was the weather guy, Alan. I mean, he was great, wasn't he? And we could have used him this past week. I think it would have been terrific. But anyway, that was the main sort of promotional thing that they did. And there's more where that came from. Now, I don't know how many people really remember this, and this was, as I understand it, was really Alan's idea. But I don't know if you remember the traffic reports that Alan used to do. Alan used to do traffic reports, and it was really limited to Winchester traffic, actually, which was really kind of interesting. But people would tune into this. They actually loved it, and they'd flick on the TV in the morning, and they'd find out what's traffic like going down Swanton Street, and stuff like that. And it was incredible. And let me just show you this. This is Alan. Now, he was wearing a mustache then, so you have to kind of work with this a little bit. But here's Alan in front of the WinCam helicopter, which was really something. Can you see that there? I don't know where I should be showing this to see it. There we go. Yeah, that's Alan in front of the WinCam helicopter, and it was really incredible. And I think you probably remember this. You've seen that helicopter hovering over Sims Corner. It was really something. And he did keep the mustache for a while. Sort of, this was kind of Alan's sort of mid to late '80s period. And we've heard how much Alan is sort of dedicated to the town, how hard he's worked and everything. But it wasn't all hard work for Alan. He knew how to have fun. And Alan McDonald, the rest of the WinCam team, they knew how to cut loose when they had to. And I have a picture here, actually. Alan, I'm sorry to embarrass you with this, but this is Alan at Alan McDonald's pool party. I don't know if you remember that. I remember the chief eventually had to shut those down. I do know that. But I don't know if you can see that, Alan, but yeah. Well, the odd thing is that you probably can't make this out at home, but this guy here, kind of rumpled looking with the undershirt on, the necktie, it's John Sullivan. So, there he is right there. And, another thing in terms of Alan's diverse skills, I don't know how many of you know he actually plays the jazz flute. Yes, he does. And I think many people were worried he was so committed to the town he would lose that ability, but he didn't. He stayed right with it, would have performances regularly. And I actually have a picture from, I think it was taken maybe at the Jazz Club. I think it was called Downstairs at Lucia's, I think. And here's Alan, still with the mustache, which is unfortunate, but there he is. Alan Iden knows a hot time when he sees it. That's what it says. That's what it says. Okay, I only have one more, so that's all right. But at any rate, the last one I think is a really great picture, and it really shows we've talked a lot about the WinCam election coverage set, and it was, that has really become a real institution, I think, in Winchester. It's a great thing. And in the 80s, they really don't have this set any longer, which I think is unfortunate. But, Alan was really trying to kind of beef the whole thing up, make it look much more substantial. Designed an entire set, which they used to do for these newscasts on election night. And I have a picture of it. Here it is here. I don't know if you can make that out. I'll show it. Alan, if you can see this. And which way should I be looking? How about that way? Okay. Yeah, there it is, and there's Alan again. And in fact, these are the pictures of a lot of the people who are participating in WinCam even now. And these clocks, as you can see up here, they actually were set. This was Alan's idea too. They were actually set to the actual time in different precincts in Winchester. And you could actually precinct 8. I think this means the polls are still open in precinct 8. That's what that means. But anyway, Alan. We all owe you a great deal, and I'm very happy that I could be up here representing the selectmen, although they may want to change the chairmanship after this, I'm not sure. But I also have an official citation, which I'd like to read, and it says, be it hereby known to all that the Board of Selectmen hereby offers its most sincere congratulations to Alan J. Iden in recognition of his many years of service to the Winchester community. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors, given this 16th day of May 2006, the Selectmen of Winchester.
Alan, first thing I want to say to you is I've known you since we worked together on the haunted house back in the late 70s at the Winchester J.C.'s, and it's about time that we honor you tonight. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be here tonight representing not only the 90-plus members of the Winchester Rotary Club, but the 1.2 million members of Rotary worldwide. Rotary was started back in 1905 in Chicago and has since grown to an organization of 32,000 clubs in 168 countries whose members strive to not only improve the quality of life in their communities, but in the world. The eradication of polio seemed impossible many years ago, but now with the help of over $500 million in money donated by Rotary, it's just around the corner. Tonight, though, we are here to honor an individual who, even though he is not a Rotarian, has lived his life as though he were one. And it is that reason why we wanted to be here to bestow upon Alan a Paul Harris Fellowship. Now, for those of you who don't know Rotary and not familiar with Rotary, I just want to quickly give you a brief history of what this means and how highly it is regarded. The Paul Harris Fellowship is named for Paul Harris, who founded Rotary with 3 business associates in Chicago in 1905. The fellowship was established in his honor in 1957 to express appreciation for a contribution of at least $1,000 to the humanitarian and educational programs of the Rotary Foundation. Foundation programs provide educational opportunities, food, potable water, healthcare, immunizations, and shelter for millions of people. These activities are funded, implemented, and managed by Rotarians and Rotary clubs around the globe. Rotarians also designate a Paul Harris Fellow to recognize another person whose life demonstrates a shared purpose with the objectives and mission of the Rotary Foundation. We move closer to a better community and world today as Alan Iden becomes a Paul Harris Fellow. Alan, you were selected to receive this recognition because the members of the Winchester Rotary Club believes that your life exemplifies the humanitarian and educational objectives of the Rotary Foundation. We thank you for demonstrating in your life and vocation a commitment to helping persons in need here in our community, and with your involvement in the Pan Mass Challenge, people around the globe. Therefore, it gives me great pleasure to present to you, on behalf of the trustees of the Rotary Foundation, these 3 emblems of a Paul Harris Fellow. Could you just quickly come up here, Alan, so I can present you with this? We have a certificate for you here. We have a lapel pin and a medallion. The certificate states that you have been named a Paul Harris Fellow in appreciation of tangible and significant assistance given for the furtherance of better understanding and friendly relations between peoples of the world. Please accept our congratulations and sincere appreciation for your commitment to our ideals. Thank you. And I have one more thing. The Winchester Rotary Club just recently unveiled our new club banner, which was designed by our Winchester Rotarian and Winchester resident, Betsy Malloy. So we would like to give this to you also. So Alan, thanks again, and congratulations on being named this year's Chamber of Commerce Citizen of the Year. Good job.
First of all, I'd just like to tell you that I'm very happy to be here because I've had such an awful day. I got up this morning, it was pouring I went to work, it was pouring, the traffic was awful. I got out of work, it was pouring. I got in my car, it was pouring. I came home, I took a shower, and we went out the door, and the clouds parted, and the sun came out. Alan's got a lot of pull up there. Now, I'm relatively new. I've known Alan for 6 years since I moved into Winchester. I've been here before, but this is my second life. I'm not like you lifers around here, and I realize that Alan is an extraordinary person. Well, he's a good guy anyway. Many of you have known Alan much longer than I have, all your life. And even though I've known him for a relatively short time, it feels like I've known him for a long time. It feels like I love, it's hard to follow these acts. It didn't take me long to realize that Alan cared deeply for his friends and family. He's extremely dedicated to his career, and he's committed to improving his community. He donates a huge amount of time as co-chair and coordinator of Town Day, et cetera, Pan Am Challenge. Every time I turn the Winchester channel on, there's Alan, as everybody already said, going over the elections and certain points of the town meeting. And if you think the live town meeting is boring, it's really something that you don't listen to for a long time because you've already seen it anyway. We rarely see Alan coming home because he comes home so late at night from his various appointments, and but he always takes time to share his time with us, to come to a birthday or an anniversary or other affairs that we might have. He doesn't always make it on the same day or the right time. Last year, he came to our annual Christmas party the night after the party. He knew there was something up because my mother-in-law's car was the only one in the driveway. She was babysitting. And we actually, this is true, we actually had another Christmas party the next week so Alan could be involved, and we had some special friends over, but it was worth it. It was worth it. Somebody just said that Alan is a stickler for detail and is very organized, and I know he is, but he has problems with his property lines, and like at the Cape, he had his neighbor build a garage over his property line, and he didn't realize it till a couple of months ago when he was going to put a fence in. And in his backyard, his own backyard, Alan used to have a huge tree. And I say he used to have a huge tree, and you probably don't know this, Alan, but it was blocking my view of the skyline, and I've talked to you about this before. Now Alan has this huge tree trunk with 2 branches on it. In any case, I'd like to give our friend the very best wishes, and this is a very well-deserved occasion, and honoring his generosity and his friendship. It's good to know you, Alan, and I usually don't stutter.
Good evening. I'm sure Alan's a little concerned about what some of us might say tonight. Certainly the police department is concerned, but Alan, I promise I'm not going to mention anything about these files. Don't worry about it. But as you can see, Alan certainly was the police department's man of the year. Alan's service to the community is obvious in many ways with his work with local cable and Town Day and many other things. But there's a service that he provides that is not so obvious. Part of Alan's responsibilities at Bonnell Ford, where he works, is to put together the competitive bids for communities like Winchester. I think I'll take it out. Like Winchester, that when we're looking to purchase new vehicles, we usually put them out through the open and competitive bid process. Now I just distracted myself. But anyways, we put them out through the open and competitive bid process, obviously looking for the best price. And there's one thing we learned a while ago, that when it came to Winchester, Alan was determined that no one was going to beat Bonnell's bid. And I've been meaning to ask you, Alan, over the years, does the Bonnell family know you're giving these vehicles away? Well, anyways, Alan's a tremendous resource to the town in many ways, and especially to the police department. And in honor of, in recognition of his service to the community, the police department would like to recognize him in their own special way. So, Alan, if you could come up here for a few minutes. As many of you know, the town will soon be looking for a new police chief. In recognition, upon the retirement of our distinguished chief, Chief Paratano. And the town manager was a little disappointed that Alan couldn't be included in the civil service process for our new chief. I hope Mel's not here. So I've been authorized tonight to make Alan an honorary chiefy-like member of the police department. Now, there are certain things that a chiefy-like person will need. And one of them is that you'll need a couple of small emblems for his personal vehicle, so everyone will know when the chiefy-like person is around town. They didn't all see it. You hold it up, Alan. Another thing that's definitely required is a very chiefy-like hat. We recognize all our distinguished people this way. And another thing that a chiefy-like person needs is a chiefy-like shirt. This has plenty of service stripes indicating his many years of service to the police department, his official junior police badge, and of course, lots of glitter. If you're going to be chiefy-like, you have to have glitter. Now, Alan, this shirt is definitely not, it doesn't have nearly as much glitter as Chief Paratano's shirt. Of course. But who could top that? So, Alan, with these few symbolic items, you are now an honorary chiefy-like member of the police department. And with with that comes all the limited authority and powers that the rest of us have. But seriously, you don't get your authority from a shirt or a hat or a position. You really get your authority from the people you serve. And obviously that's where you've earned yours. So in closing, on behalf of the police department, we congratulate you and salute you. Thank you.
Alan is my older brother by 3 years. I represent the rest of the Idens, my mother, my father, and me. Our biggest claim to fame is being related to the ubiquitous Alan Iden. Any personal introduction around town is usually followed by, "Oh, are you related to Alan?" I'm convinced of the two of us, he must be the one who was adopted. We can't be from the same gene pool. We watch him on TV, on town meeting and election nights, and downtown pulling off events such as Town Day, and in August during the weekend of the Pan Mass Challenge, and we wonder, even my parents, where did this guy come from? Growing up, he was a perfectly fine, if sometimes annoying, older brother. As brothers do, he improved with age, especially when we reached adulthood. And amazingly, decades later, he still continues to improve with age. But sisters can still keep brothers humble. For years, Alan drove the Citizen of the Year in the Inca Parade in his red Mustang convertible. I believe I made some crack about his receiving this award just so everyone could see him drive himself in the parade. It's easy to make light of an honor like this because we're so accustomed to his many altruistic activities. They have occupied most of his life and extend beyond Winchester. He must have been the only one surprised by this recognition. We knew it was bound to happen sooner or later. The best part is we moved to Winchester in the 1950s and we're still all here to celebrate times like tonight.
I'll bet that most of you gathered here tonight didn't know that Alan Iden is a thespian.
Mommy! Mommy, what's a thespian?
Oh, we'll talk about that later, dear, when you're older.
Thespian, adjective, of or pertaining to thespis, or pertaining to drama, dramatic, or also a noun, thespian, an actor or actress.
Alan has been with the Winchester Players for many, many years.
Mommy, what are the Winchester Players? I didn't read anything in the Winchester Star about them in the article about Alan Iden.
Oh, no, darling, the Players are a secret jewel in the crown of Winchester, an award-winning community theater group which the Citizen of the Year awardee, Alan, has been involved with for many years.
Mommy, how long ago was Alan a child?
Oh, darling, that was long before he was a mere twinkle in your dad's eye.
Once upon a time, not too many years ago, there was a Unitarian minister named Robert Storer.
Ooh, Unitarian.
Mommy, what does a Unitarian believe?
We'll talk about that another time, dear, when you're older.
The Reverend Storer was also a lover of the theater and directed plays at the church. He thought Alan had potential.
Alan, you're a good-looking young man. You're theatrical, you're charismatic. You should be on the stage. People like you, they trust you. You speak to their hearts, you make them laugh, you inspire them, and you have good teeth. Have you ever thought about being on the stage? I've got a role for you with the Winchester Unitarian Players.
Alan was bit by the theater bug and learned all the ropes: lights, sound, house management, tickets, publicity, and became very proficient creating eye-catching programs for the productions and getting them to the theater minutes before the audience arrived on opening night. Alan also did some stage management and appeared in Arthur Miller's The Crucible. in a Puritan costume. Now that's acting.
Well, he stopped doing lights when we switched from gas to electricity.
Alan also served the players on the board of directors, and after years of paying his dues, he became treasurer.
Mommy, the Winchester Players has dues?
Oh, no, my sweetie, just don'ts, and not many of those, come to think of it.
There are some dues. Do plays that make money. Do recycle programs that fall on the floor. And do plays that make money.
And do pay the royalties on time, right?
That's right, darling.
And before Baker's Plays could handwrite an invoice for royalties, Alan Iden became the Winchester Players' treasurer for life.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun.
It was cheaper to order a lifetime supply of checks with Alan's name on them.
Okay. The minutes of the meeting are accepted as amended to reflect that the double chocolate cake did sell better than the cheese and fruit plates at the last show. The next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report. I would be willing to entertain a motion to delay the treasurer's report.
Oh, it's my turn. I make a motion to delay the treasurer's report until the treasurer arrives.
Second the motion.
Later that evening, a very nicely dressed Alan Iden ran into the Unitarian Church to the Players' Board meeting.
Sorry, everyone. I was reporting on town meeting for WinCam.
Again. You said that last month. You don't expect us to believe in this override, do you?
There are some complicated issues facing the town of Winchester, and WinCam viewers need me to sort them out. Anyway, how did you know about the override?
Just a hunch.
Alan, if you're so important, why can't you get the town to hang our show banners on the good side of the railroad trestle?
I have no control over that, but I could get you a good spot with a canopy on town day for $75.
In this life, one thing counts, in the bank, large amounts. I suspect these don't grow on trees. You've got to have a hit show or two. You've
got to have a hit show or two, boys. You've got to have a hit show or two.
Well, the next item on the agenda is play selection for next season.
We could do a play by David Mamet.
Should we? It might offend some in the audience. All his plays have an F word in them.
Aren't there any shows with no expenses? Let's do Much Ado About Nothing. The author is dead, there won't be any royalties. Shakespeare's a real bargain, and his plays are pretty good, aren't they? Pygmalion always makes money.
Alan, that's Shaw. Could you please give us the treasurer's report?
Well, we did pretty well with the last show, but we can do even better next time. More butts in the seats. No more sad shows, we need comedies.
Thank you, Alan. But could you please give us the treasurer's report?
I'm pleased to say that our now account has made 24 cents interest last month.
And that leaves us with the cash on hand balance of...
Oh, wait, here are the vouchers for the expenses for tonight's dinner.
For all his contributions to the Winchester Players over the years, Alan is best known and loved as protector and defender of our little cash box.
Players Board, may I ask you a question? It's amazing, is it not, that the budget calls for cheap white paint at $20 a shot. Martha Stewart is what we got. Al, we're sure that you're a bit misguided. In our place, you would have done what we have done. We have simply given up our cappuccinos and put our extra pennies one by one into a little cash box. A little cash box that only Alan's key unlocks. There is nothing unorthodox about a little cash box, about a little cash, about a little cash in a little cash box. A little cash box that only Alan's key unlocks.
there is honor and purity.
Lots of security in a little cash box.
Now the town knows why we shy away from musicals, so. We did have an idea about how to get more people in town to come to our shows, however. So if you look, we put passes under one coffee cup at every table, so we're hoping
You did
it's-
what? You did what? that hurts my bottom line.
Well, since Alan's passion is for the bottom line, maybe the next play we'll do will be the Full Monty.
Well, we'll save money on costumes, won't we?
Meeting adjourned.
It's okay, Billy, no tie required here.
I may not have a tie, but I know the name of my event. Pan Mass Challenge, folks. And since there was only one bio, whoever put it together, I just want to say that Alan's, for those of you who can add, which I think is most of you in the rooms until the second drink, that Alan started in 1985. He didn't return in 1997, he turned in 1987. So my relationship probably in this room, I'm a new friend of only 21 years with Alan. And as John intimated in that original comment, that it was one of my original blessings that Alan's fortitude, not unlike the Anchorman, was not to be found on a bicycle. He was honorable, he participated, he raised his money, and I believe it took him a year to recover from that experience. He then came back to the Pan Mass Challenge in the ranks of a volunteer. But for the last 14 years, Alan Iden has been a part of the Pan Mass Challenge head staff, and I'd like to tell you that that's no small responsibility. When this committee was thoughtful enough to call me at noontime today to ask me if I'd be a speaker, I pulled my staff together. They were thoughtful enough to give us the table near the dumpster and asked, because I was asked if I could be funny. And I said I thought I could be funny, but I didn't have anything really very funny to say about Alan. And I pulled my team together and asked, can we tell a funny story? What would be the characteristics? Well, the truth is, folks, it isn't about funny with Alan. We came up, frankly, that the characteristic that when we think of Alan, beyond the general decency that's been emulated and will constantly be enumerated here in the following speakers, is that Alan is perhaps fastidious, neat, orderly. So it is remarkably ironic that in his evolution with the Pan Mass Challenge, that he would become my road coordinator. Because, ladies and gentlemen, what we do in the Pan Mass Challenge, besides raise enormous monies, which I hope you know that this year will be probably about $25 million this year alone, representing almost 50% of all money raised on behalf of Dana-Farber Cancer Institute's Jimmy Fund. What we do we plan all year long for a perfect weekend. That will never happen. And having seniority and being the founder and all that stuff, I'm indulged to the point where people who work for me as volunteers carry out my vision. And all I've ever done for Alan Iden in his 14 years as a head staff person is make his job harder and harder and harder, with only one promise, that I will raise more and more money if he will help me script my vision to try and make a safe event. So let me tell you what Alan's job has become. The Pan Mass Challenge is now 8 different routes, 43 towns, 356 miles of infrastructure over 2 days in all weather. There are going to be this year alone some 4,500 people on bikes, 2,300 people volunteering to support them. On this weekend, Alan and I will probably see each other twice. One of the divine things I've been able to pull off in my life is that I get to ride my own event and turn it over to able people like Alan to go work. I felt that it was my position that I should walk the walk and talk the talk, so I ride and fundraise. So Alan and I will run into each other once that I know for sure, which is at the ferry in Provincetown, and often at the end of Saturday night at the Mass Maritime Academy, where in later years, Alan, who we've now seen has many incantations and personas, will drag me into his headquarters, where he gets to imitate Dr. Strangelove in front of the big board. Because ever since the PMC put up global positioning systems, this for Alan was dying and going to heaven. This is the side of Alan that I know. Lots of gadgets, lots of lights, horns, and barking orders, but not, as we'd seen in the previous presentation, his best side is not being out in front of the camera. He can do it now through other means of giving people information. So we'll see each other Saturday night and on Sunday, and we give each other a report of what we think has transpired to that point. I can't say enough how grateful I am for Alan. Alan is one of 10 people who make up this volunteer professional head staff group. Again, as I said in the corner, there is 6 people back there who are my full-time staff. But Alan is one of the 10 people who does the logistics. And it's one of the great characteristics of Alan and some of these other people that they've all been in this event almost as long as Alan. We couldn't build an event of this magnitude without such loyalty. So for those of you who think that Alan perhaps never gets out of Winchester doing to undying love and affection, I'm here to say that on a year-round basis, his vision does take to a broader landscape across Massachusetts, and that his heart belongs to everybody who might be touched by cancer, whether it's family, friends, or the children that we've all known through the Jimmy Fund Clinic. Alan, you get a big heart, you back it up with a professional demeanor. I've never seen you lose your cool, and I thank you for helping me bring my vision to a broader audience. Thank you very much.
Folks, I'd like to introduce you to the rest of the Iden family. There's a couple errors in the bio that Alan wrote for himself. Go figure. It was really tough growing up on Bacon Street with Alan, being his twin brother, Ethan. We're both 52 years old. Alan, tell everybody your age. Kind of like Danny and Arnold. And a little bit like Rodney Dangerfield, Alan. I got no respect. It was tough. But the good news is, Alan, that these lovely folks in the audience voted you in as Citizens of the Year. But now the bad news is, Alan, the truth is coming out about our family. We were kept in the closet for quite a long time, guys. An awfully long time. But for you folks that are new in the town of Winchester, all right, back in the early 70s, there was an old Girl Scout cabin on South Border Road. Now this cabin, what's Festus doing? You checking in on Janice? The other sister? Okay. There was a cabin in the Fells, And that's where we had the haunted house. We were the members of the JCs and the JCS. And we started the haunted house in the mid-70s. Folks like the Borners, the Browns, the McDonalds, the Norbergs, the Tobiasons, the Malaskas, the Pywells, and other families were all there to pitch in, and we started the first haunted house in the area. Of course, then our brother Alan comes along, right? You know, the tall, good-looking one. And he steals everything from the loyal family members, like Little Fang. Now, you pranced around the woods, Alan, picking on all young, suspecting kids and single mothers. Go figure. Anyways, he was so selective in who he picked on. But after many years of working the Girl Scout cabin and having a good time, Alan decides to cook pancakes one time and burns the damn place down. So after he burns the thing down, we moved to the Wedge Pond bathhouse. I think we had to try at Mahoney's one time, but that didn't work out, right? Paul threw you out of the greenhouse. Anyways, we go to the bathhouse, and after a couple of years there, the curtain falls on that whole adventure. So after all the accolades have been bestowed upon you, Alan, by all the people here that have come before us, the beautiful people, the rest of us folks in the family would like to tell you the true story. He is so cheap. He is so tight. The only reason why you drove that old powder blue Cougar around was because it was free. And Little Fang, if you come up here and tell him a few problems that you've had with him as being a family member, we'd appreciate that as well.
Well, the thing I remember most about being Alan's little brother was the house we lived in, and Bernie, I'm very sorry I have to bring this up. I'm very sorry I have to bring this up, Bernie, but the roof leaked. And now that was 30 years ago that the roof leaked. And I think the roof is still leaking. So, Alan, would you come up here for a minute? I have a little something that you may need soon. Of course, you're going to need instructions on how to take and utilize these things. But here's a few roof shingles to take and fix it and that. Now, the compensation that he gave to those people who worked so hard to take and do this, part of it, Chief Parentano, this is something you might want to know about. He didn't have a permit for this, see? He dispensed alcohol. And
was he 21?
Was who 21? The consumer or the dispenser? But he was so cheap, he gave the workers Bud Light. Bud Light, you know? It was better than Schlitz, but not much. So here's a couple of these. And that, I'll give you the rest of them.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. However, his own private stock, nothing but the best for our boy Al, Heineken. Now, Al, it wasn't easy, but this is the six-pack left over from that day that we put the roof on. You'll notice there's 2 bottles that are empty. You may have them.
Oh, thank you.
Pearson drank those. For those of you who don't know, Roger Pearson was another unindicted co-conspirator in this who failed to show.
So, folks, had you not voted him in today as Citizen of the Year, because I didn't vote for him, to be honest with you, being the little brother, we would not been here tonight to come before you and tell you about our brother, our Citizen of the Year, and the Iden family. Thank you.
The Town Day Committee would like to join with the rest of the committee in honoring you, Alan, as a Citizen of the Year for 2006. As you are all aware, Alan has been a strong presence and a large part of the Town Day Committee. And this has been for a very, very long time. In fact, so long that gasoline was selling at 25 cents a gallon when he started. Well, clearly after many years of planning and running this event, the entire committee often hears the same questions year after year and hundreds of times during the day. Since Alan is obviously the tallest member of our committee, and he is easily picked out in a crowd, when the rest of us members are standing around and tired of answering these questions, we direct people to the tall guy in the red shirt. Alan is always a gentleman, has always answered each question as sincerely and politely as no matter how tired he is or how many times he has been asked the question. So tonight, the committee has put together a list of the 10 most frequently asked questions at Town Day. And we are going to let you know what Alan was really thinking.
Can I interject here for a second? In order to put this list together, we kind of broke the work up, and Mary worked on the questions and I worked on the answers. The one thing we forgot to do was coordinate, so I'm not sure how this is going to come out.
10. What do you mean canopies don't come with the registration?
What do you mean canopies don't come with the registration? What Alan would like to say, well, sir, if you bought a car at Barnell's, would you expect it to come with tires?
Could you tell me where Main Street is?
Could you tell me where Main Street is? What Alan would like to say. I'm sorry, ma'am, we don't have a Main Street in this town. You must be at the wrong Town Day.
How much are the free trolley rides?
How much are the free trolley rides? What Alan would like to say. Well, ma'am, if you have to ask, you can't afford them.
Why are the fireworks set off so late?
Why are the fireworks set off so late? What Alan would like to say. So we don't scare the geese.
Where can I get a train schedule for the ponies?
Where can I get a train schedule for the ponies? What Alan would like to say. Please try that train station up there.
Number 5. Are you aware that CVS is selling shaving cream today?
Are you aware that CVS is selling shaving cream today? Well, yes, ma'am, I am aware of that. And frankly, I think you could use some.
Number 4. Do these t-shirts come in any other color?
Do these t-shirts come in any other color? What Alan would like to say. Well, yes, ma'am, they come in dozens of color. What color would you like? Oh, I'm sorry, we're out of that one. What other color would you like? Oh, I'm sorry, we're out of that one. How would you like black?
Number 3. What do you mean the closest bathroom is at the fire station?
What do you mean the closest bathroom is at the fire station? What Alan would like to say. Well, sir, to tell you the truth, it's part of the contract negotiated between the selectmen and the firefighters union.
Number 2. Could you tell me what's going on here today?
Try the other number 2.
Try the other number 2.
The other number 2.
Okay. Why are the roads closed?
Why are the roads closed? What Alan would like to say. Well, we heard a weather forecast this morning and it predicted showers, and we thought the Abidjona might flood, so we thought we'd get a head start on closing the roads.
And the number 1 question that we're asked at the Town Day booth is, where can I find the lady with the crabs?
I'm not going to. Where can I find the lady with the crabs? Well, I have no idea how Alan would answer that one, so I'll let him answer that one.
We have some gifts for you, Alan. The Town Day Committee got together and we thought we could use these this year. Alan is notoriously bad about coming to Town Day without his sidewalk chalk. So this year we have it for him in colors. And this, I almost hate to bring out.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
No, you have to open it.
Have to open it?
Open it.
Isn't that
It's the one in.
incredibly bad luck?
No, just open it. You go.
Oh. The perfect Town Day umbrella.
Yeah, absolutely. And in keeping with hats, this is our very first Town Day official 25th anniversary with your favorite expression. Good Lord.
Good Lord.
Good evening. I'm sure you've all seen us with our little pins and buttons and the little picture here. Well, there's a story behind this, actually. Probably about 30 years ago, Alan started the rent-a-car department at Barnell. And Ford was so impressed with his organization and how he did, and it became so successful, that he asked a group of us to get together and make him a model spokesman for Ford Rent-A-Car. So, we got him all dolled up. And lo and behold, we sent it off to Ford, and we never heard anything back. I don't know who the spokesman is, but it's not Alan. And there's one other little tidbit of information that we have about Alan. Now, we all know that when Alan gets involved in something, he takes it over. Well, at Barnell, at the dealership, we have a little tradition of the bunny hop. And for years, he's been involved, but he's kind of held off in the background. And we never knew why. You know, years and years, he just wants to take the cash in the back. Well, we finally found out what it was. He's afraid of bunnies.
I just have a quickie. I've only been there 12 years. I've known Alan for like 25. But when I first got there, he's our MIS director. He does all the computer work, the phones. And the thing that surprises me, and there's 22 people from Barnell here, and they'll all vouch for this, there is nobody, including every Barnell, that has Alan's cell phone. We have to call his house and leave it on voicemail and hope we'll hear from him, and then the phones can get going. Thank you.
If anybody in here does have his cell phone number, please see me afterwards, because we'd love to have her for the weekends. I'm Steve Bonnell, and family represented here, as long as a lot of employees who have been with us a super long time. And as many of you can imagine, I've known Alan a really long time. Or actually, maybe I should say that you've known me a really long time. Because when Alan started with our company, I was 1 year old. So he's known me longer than I've known him. Needless to say, I don't remember much from his first years with the company, so I had to call upon my dad, who would love to have been here tonight, but he's a snowbird, so he's still down in Florida. But I had to call upon him to see if he could give me a good story that I could talk about tonight. And my dad recalled what I think as one of the great stories of Alan's career. At 16 years old, Alan used to ride his bicycle down to Bonnell Motors, which, as a lot of you know, used to be located 666 Main Street, right downtown. And he used to ride his bicycle down to the dealership, and he would come in and he would pick up all the new literature from all the new models that had come out and study it, read up upon it, obviously get to know it better than anybody there. And generally harass a lot of the employees, like Dick Preston over here. Finally, after a year of this, Mr. McDonald, who was our general manager, and my dad got sick and tired of having him hanging around the dealership the whole time. So they said, why don't we just give him something to do while he's here? So they put him in charge of literature and catalogs. And his job was to organize them and make sure that we always had enough in stock to hand out to the customers. Now keep in mind there was no pay involved. He was 16 at the time. He just had to come in and kind of organize things and make sure that we always had plenty of stock. Well, like everything else Alan does, he had to take it to the next level. He started quizzing the salespeople on a regular basis, seeing if they knew what the trim content was and what the options were on the vehicles, what the standard equipment was, how much miles per gallon. And so he actually developed true and false questions to all these questions for the salespeople to answer. And his goal was to see if any of them knew more than he did. Well, we all know the answer to that question, right? Well, one day in particular, there was a new green Galaxy convertible waiting in front of the showroom for a lucky customer to come and pick up. And Alan decided, not only was he in charge of literature and catalogs, but showroom design, he decided that the Galaxy didn't look proper where it was parked, so he was going to move it over to another part of the lot. You see where this is going. He didn't have his driver's license, I might also throw in there, being 16 years old. So needless to say, you can imagine he got in an accident with a car pulling it from one area to the next. Well, as you can imagine, my father wasn't too happy. And borrowing a line from Donald Trump, he said to Alan, "You're fired." Alan, forever quick on his feet, came back with, "Ralph, how can you fire me? I volunteer my time here." And Alan promptly ignored my dad and has been coming into work every day since. Let's see. Alan's first real job with the dealership was while he was still attending Northeastern University. He was doing the co-op program, so he'd go to school for a little bit and then he'd come work with us for a little bit. His first job, I was told, was he was in charge. I guess Dick Preston reminded me today we had one rent-a-car, grand total of one rent-a-car, and Alan was in charge of that one rent-a-car. So his job was to keep an eye on that car, know where it was, make sure we were taking income in from the car, and again, as I mentioned earlier, that was not challenging enough for Alan. So the next thing you know, the fleet had grown to 30 rent-a-cars. So, and that was before rent-a-cars were very popular, and that was before Hertz and everybody else. So as usual, he took the ball and just ran with it. Well, Alan was now working and going to school, so he rewarded himself with his first brand new car. And that was the very first brand new 1971 Pinto that we got into the dealership. I tried to find a picture of that car, but I just couldn't, Alan. I know you had him, but I couldn't let you in on it. So that was his first reward. Well, here it is some 37 years later, and just like his civic involvement, one job role is not enough. Alan currently serves as our Parts and Service Director, our MIS Director, or as we call him, our Computer Geek, as well as we affectionately call him, I should say. And he also has carved out quite a niche with municipal sales to the different police departments, the state police, and many of the local towns throughout the state. With all that he does around the dealership, I don't know how he finds the time to be so involved with all the charitable organizations that he is involved with. To name a few, WinCam, the Chamber of Commerce, the Head of the Charles, the Town Day Committee, and then the Pan Mass Challenge as well. Steve. As I mentioned, he's quick on his feet. He stole my next line. My next line was, I said, "Come to think of it, when I get back to the office, I should check his time card because there's not enough time in the day to do all that he does." Very quick, very quick. On a serious note, we are all very thankful to have Alan as a dedicated employee, and by the turnout here tonight, I can see we're all very thankful to have Alan as a dedicated citizen of the town of Winchester, and we thank you all from Bonnell Motors and appreciate all that you do for us. Thank you very much.
And ladies and gentlemen, at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the president of the Winchester Chamber of Commerce, Marie Johnson. Marie?
I am here tonight as president of the Chamber of Commerce, so nothing would be appropriate if I didn't do a little plug for the Chamber. It was just over probably a month or so ago that we were in this same facility celebrating one of our most successful events, Women Helping Women. Kim Miles is here and Dot Butler, who helped chair that. 400 women here learning about business in Winchester, particularly run by women, and it was a fabulous, fabulous event. And coming up, you have the opportunity, once again, to be a part of an event sponsored by the Chamber. We're going to do a wonderful garden tour the day before Town Day. Thank you, Alan. On Friday, we're going to do it. 8 gardens. Please look for information on that because we'd love to have you all participate. 8 beautiful gardens, and surely it will be full of sun. May I digress one moment, though, as president of the Chamber, to say how very proud I am after this very difficult week. With so much rain, so much hardship on the part of so many people, to pick up tonight's paper and read about what is happening to make such a special event like the ENCA Fair take place this weekend. It's the police department, it's the ENCA, it's the Jinx Center. It's all of us that live in this town knowing how important that is to us, pulling together to make it happen, and it is going to happen. So thank you to all of you in this room who make this the kind of town that we love being a part of. So that's my... But we are really here to talk about Alan Iden. And you have heard many wonderful, wonderful stories about Alan, and haven't you all learned something about him tonight? I know I have. As many of you know, I really am a major supporter of the effort of volunteers, and I think Alan is volunteerism with a capital V. He is the heart and soul of any project he undertakes. The man behind the scenes, often doing those unglamorous jobs that some of us would rather not do. In the night that we presented this at the Chamber of Commerce, and believe you me, I will never forget interrupting the Nobel Prize winner because Alan wanted to walk out. But he is the man who often is there, you know, painting the lines, picking up the trash, doing all of those kinds of things. But don't underestimate that. He is also the one that has the heart, the soul, the vision, the enthusiasm. I could go on and on, but he really covers the broadest spectrum of volunteerism. You've certainly heard that this evening. So he is the man of this evening, even though he'd like to be the unsung hero. He prefers to be the quiet one, behind the scenes, the man who just gets the job done. And not just done, but done with thoroughness, attention to detail, great spirit, and the most positive attitude. It is always a pleasure to work with Alan on any event. So on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and the current and future citizens of this absolutely wonderful community, I have a gift that I'd like to present to Alan on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. Alan, would you come forward?
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'd like to present to you the man of the hour, Alan Iden, Citizen of the Year.
Thank you very much, John. I want to say how delighted I am to see so many people show up tonight as I announce my candidacy for town moderator. Ooh, jeez. Sorry, wrong script. I've attended quite a few of these events, and I know that the three, well, I guess 3.5 words that you most want to hear at this time is, "I'll be brief." But I would like to take a couple of minutes and talk about some of the things of which I'm especially proud. Beginning with my family. My parents, who many of you know as Bernie and Connie. Used to be a running joke around the house that my father and I were in a race to see how many times we get our pictures in the paper. And you know, he usually won. My mother and I can't argue politics because we agree on just about everything, so that doesn't work. And my sister, who fought a courageous and successful battle against cancer and decided to fight back by becoming a Pan Mass rider, is now in her 3rd year. And I know she'd be delighted to give her e-gift number to anybody who wants to have it here this evening. The Pan Mass, you know, I'm very proud of my 21 years with the Pan Mass. The event has set a new standard in charitable fundraising. I think you heard from Billy earlier, you know, it's raised $145 million for the Jimmy Fund. And I guess the fact I'm most proud of is last year gave 99% of everything they raised to the Jimmy Fund. So I'm enormously proud to work with Billy, his staff, the 2,000 volunteers, and the 4,000 plus riders of the Pan Mass. I don't know how they got left out of the article from the paper, but I'm proud to work for over 30 years with the players. They're a great, great group. They're dedicated in bringing theater to this town and having a good time doing it. The directors, actors, backstage volunteers produce 2, sometimes 3 plays a year, and I'd encourage you to check them out. We need more butts in our seats. Where have I heard that before? WinCam, I know that some of the WinCam staff is behind the scenes, but I'm really proud of having worked for 20 years with the community television, and particularly in the last 6 years with the directors and the staff of WinCam. You know, we started a company, and we brought hopefully some quality programming to town, and it's very heartening to see every day more and more people involved with it, and the enthusiasm that the volunteers at WinCam have. And also, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention we won some awards for some of our coverage. So it's always a pleasure to work with my friend Albie. We have a great time. And he's right. I do stick that earpiece in my ear and remind him every year, I can't hear what you're saying, so I'm going to sit there and nod, and when you say something to me, I'm going to go, and I haven't a clue what you just said. So the secret's out now. Very, very proud to work with a group dedicated to making sure Winchester has a chance to celebrate this great town once a year. The Town Day Committee starts planning the event in January and spends the next 5 months making sure that we adhere to our values of low-cost fun for all ages. To my co-chairs, Ralph and Mary Johnson, Mike Sarabian, and the rest of this little-known but very, very hard-working committee, I salute you. And I know I'm going to pay for Mary coming up here and
me to do public speaking, but you should know that one of the most common things as Town Day gets closer is for me to pick up my phone at work and hear Mary's voice going, "I have another lunatic to deal with." I'm very proud to have worked for a family that has proved that you can succeed in the automobile business if you have integrity and honesty and treat people like they should be treated. Ralph and Bruce Monell and the whole family have been running that store for over 80 years with respect for customers, the employees, and the community, and all in this town. I thank them and my fellow employees for their dedication and hard work and for the good times we've shared over the years. I'm proud to have been able to work with the many talented, dedicated, and supportive town employees, elected officials, and volunteers who work every day to keep this place a great place to live. We've seen that, as it was mentioned earlier, we've seen that dedication manifest itself just in the past few days as Winchester came through what we've had disastrous floods in the past few years, and I think we've come through in remarkably good shape due to the hard work of an awful lot of people. Recognize again Chief Paratano, which is probably your last public appearance before you get a well-deserved retirement. It's been great working with you over the years. And I'm very proud to work with Kathy Alexander, Carol Walsh, and my fellow directors at the Chamber as they work to make this town, a better place to have a successful business and a better place to live. I don't know where is Kathy? Oh, there she is, okay. Excited about having another grandchild in the past few days. Congratulations. And she's going to kill me for referring to her as a grandmother. I'm going to pay for that. And I know Carol will be headed to the Cape after she recovers from this evening. I'm really honored and I'm humbled to be included with past recipients of this award. Many of them are here tonight. I feel like I'm in very distinguished company. I'd like to mention two people who aren't here tonight. I got a call last week from Dr. Donald McLean, who called to congratulate me, and I think if you grew up in Winchester in my era, Dr. McLean was your doctor, and a wonderful human being, and health issues prevented him from being here tonight, but if he sees this on video or something like that, I want to send all of our best wishes out to him. And I was really lucky to be able to work for so many years with another recipient who is not here tonight, and that's Sandy Rogers. And Sandy was just tireless in her dedication to make this town a better place to live, a more beautiful place to live, and I was very lucky to work with her for so many years. So, Sandy, we miss you. And finally, my dear friends who came here to support me and honor me with their presence tonight, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I promise to be short. It's been a great, very interesting evening. I never know when pictures that I've taken 35 years ago are going to pop up to haunt me. I got to be careful about that. But I thank you so much for honoring me, and through me, for all the groups and volunteers that work so hard to make Winchester a great place to live. Thank you. Thank you all.
Alan Iden.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to thank you all for coming, and I know that we want to thank the Idens for giving us Alan, and I think you've heard tonight that everyone loves Alan.
Good evening, I'm Laurel Lucas.
And I'm Alan Iden. The March 27th town election may bring new blood into town.
On breaking up that logjam, the school committee chair.
I had thought about, see if I could get a wig, blonde curly wig, and try and take. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the May edition, May 1991 edition of Focus on Winchester. Alan McDonald has left me here all alone at the anchor desk.
Somebody's going to pay for that.
I know it.